So happy to be here. When I met Pastor Tyrell, there are funny things I could tell you about that, but we'll leave that alone for the moment at this time. And I know God is already working because He's putting my pride down. I spent way too much time thinking about, oh, I'm going to preach. Which watch shall I wear? I actually collect vintage watches. It seems like a silly thing. I should pay more attention to time than collecting timepieces, but God's working on me. I want you to not have no watch on. Why? Because God said, you know what? Wrong spot, wrong place. So I'm trying to keep time on my phone this morning, and He's always working through His love. And so we're talking about the fruit of the Spirit, and we got a couple of verses to go through. Of course, our classic, Galatians 5:22 and 23, and we got our youngin' there on the, get the monitor here. Look at this, it's the last time. Oh, I can play like I really memorize it, right? But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness and goodness. That's the word I'm supposed to be focusing on. Kindness and goodness. Faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. You know, it's funny when when Pastor asked me about, at some point this spring, which of these words I wanted to bring. I flippantly picked goodness and kindness because the self-control thing, I said, oh, no, that's not for me to do. And so I kind of flippantly threw up goodness and kindness. But God is not mocked. He knew this journey He had for me. And this week, talking to Pastor Tyrell, who when He gives you something to do, it's not like He forgets what He asked you. And when He calls on you to say, okay, we're going to talk about this on certain date and certain time, you can count on Him paying attention to what He has asked you to do. And with gentleness, He makes it clear. Where are you on stuff? And what you going to say? And do you need some outlines? And have you thought about this? And so it's not like, I get to come up here and do whatever I want to do. Hopefully I should listen to the Spirit. But He's reminding me that also sometimes the Spirit directs through Him as the head of this house of worship. And I certainly respect that and respect His yielding to the Spirit. Now, cracking jokes, I will do that. Humor makes the heart, happy. We had some laughs this morning on the way here to church, and that was always good because it keeps me relaxed. Y'all want me relaxed, trust me. Trust me. Y'all don't want to see the other guy. And my wife is looking at me. She's looking at me close. But that's all right. We'll do what we have to. So let's celebrate God's Word, because this has been a powerful series. And it's been powerful for me to learn about the fruit of the Spirit. See, what I've discovered is that when Pastor the first week said one fruit, I was like, okay, that's an English lesson. But then when I started getting into it, I recognized all of these things pour out of a difficult human experience in trying to control what our flesh wants to do. Our flesh doesn't want to do any of these things. I mean, that's just the truth. We want to do other stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Now, I know I'm being recorded, but that's okay. I'm not going to say nothing that I haven't testified to somebody somewhere. But you're all my church family, so y'all just will hear stuff now. So that when you look at me funny, I can know, okay, it's probably what I said, but that's all right. So I'm a local guy. I'm from around town, so that when somebody local kind of becomes a star, I pay attention. And There's this show I like to watch sometimes. It's an older show. In fact, I don't think they've made any new ones in a while. But it's called Dirty Jobs. I don't know if y'all know that. There's a guy, Mike Rowe. He did it. I remember when I was broke and couldn't buy no house, he used to have be on Sunday morning when I wasn't walking with the Lord. I'd sit around and watch stuff on Sunday morning. He was trying to sell houses around here. He was starting out in the media world. And he's from Overly. He went to Baltimore County Community College. He later went to Towson. And then he went on to become like a national guy doing this show called Dirty Jobs. And so I used to watch Mike Rowe mostly because he's a Baltimore guy, so I'm going to watch. And he had many shows. He did lots of things. It's like one of these shows where you sort of pretend to do something for a week like you're on that job. And all the jobs he did were very difficult and challenging jobs. Well, one show that got my attention was a show he did on being a sheep herder. Talking about how hard it is to deal with sheep. Now, you might want to know what that has to do with kindness and goodness. Well, I'm glad you asked, because we're going to get there. After watching the show, I looked into it because you all might not know. I may have mentioned this last time I spoke. I grew up on a farm in Howard County. I was a terrible farmer. I couldn't get off the farm fast enough. In fact, I graduated early from high school to make sure I wouldn't be left there when my brother left. I wasn't good. I was awful. But you did learn some things watching the animals, and one of the animals that you watched were sheep. And I'll say a few things I'm not very proud of, messing with the sheep, but let's go to the 23rd Psalm. You know, this is Bob last week played a beautiful rendition of a song, and then he did the 23rd Psalm right in the middle, and this was about the time that I was contemplating having to bring this word. I didn't know last Sunday, but I'd be bringing it today, but I was moved by Bob's words, and you know, reciting the psalm. Many of us had to recite this in school, certainly Sunday school, and it's worth spending some time with if we're going to understand goodness and kindness. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. Let's stop there for a minute. Sheep, like us, they're not that bright. Amen. And we combine not being that bright with getting agitated. See, sheep get agitated real easy. Now, I'm not telling you about something I saw on Mike Rowe's show. I'm telling you about what I know, because we had sheep on our farm. Sheep don't lay down until they are sure everything's calm. That's good. To lay down in a pasture, a sheep's got to be unconcerned about their safety. Otherwise, we used to do unkind things. We knew the sheep weren't so smart. So if you jumped at them, they would hop up and start running to each other, trip over each other. We thought that was funny. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it was funny to watch them. And then when they had a full load of wool, they even more funnier. Because less space, you know, to get anywhere. Sorry, I repent, Lord. Messing with the chief for my entertainment. Go a little further. Back one, though. I'm sorry. I get ahead of myself. he leads me beside still waters. Yeah, everybody likes still water. But it's not just a question of still waters being nice and that we like them, like to look at them. The sheep are so nervous that they get agitated if the water is too bubbly. They won't even drink from a babbling brook unless it calms down it. Like we get sometime when we angry with somebody, cuts us off in traffic or goes around us at a red light. Sound like all of us. Lord have mercy. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. We'll pause there. The shepherd is with the sheep. Knowing that the shepherd is with the sheep seems like from us a big deal. But the sheep, it's really kind of neutral. Because the sheep don't know how to take care of themselves. They don't know what to do, and they're not very smart. So the existence of the shepherd has nothing to do with the worthiness of the sheep. The sheep need care. They don't even know it most of the time, but they know when they're cared for. It's an interesting idea that throughout the Bible, that God makes this analogy between shepherd and sheep. Abraham, Moses, David, Jesus, all keepers of the sheep. So it must be important that we get something from the idea of this relationship. Probably wondering when I'm going to get the loving kindness. You're going to see it. Now, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. These are two tools for showing love and kindness to the sheep. And they're specific tools. The rod is a sturdy weapon to fight. It's a tool of protection. It's a symbol of love. David, when he was getting ready to fight Goliath, was trying to convince King Saul that he could handle Goliath. You know, everybody's questioning how this shepherd boy is going to defeat Goliath. He says, I fought the bear and I fought the lion. And he smote them. Now, that's a heavy Bible word. I should do a whole message on smoting in the Bible. Ain't no joke. Old Testament style. It's no joke. But I got to tell you that David's plea to take the fight on of this giant reveals a couple of things that are really important. First of all, we know he killed Goliath with the sling. But look at what he talked about this. He was talking about using the rod, but he also grabbed the lion and the bear by the beard. That's face-to-face combat. That's face-to-face. When we talk about David was a man after God's own heart, he was a sheep too. He didn't listen. He's dumb. He's stupid at times. But when you search the idea of what it means a man after God's own heart. When it came to protecting the sheep, he was willing to get up close and personal with the weapons that God gave him. We like to talk about the sling, but, this is hands-on defense. Then the staff. It's a long pole with a stick on the end. It directs the sheep. It helps the shepherd count the sheep to keep up where they are. It is a tool of guidance, rescue. It is the thing that supports the rest of the sheep. Because as I've told you, they get agitated easy. They don't rest unless they feel totally comfortable. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Again, the sheep are out there. There are lots of enemies. It's interesting. He talked about the lion and the bear. By the way, bear is no joke, lion is no joke. But mostly, the sheep had to contend with wolves. Now, Keith and Sarah, kind enough to invite us this week to beautiful play production. Their children were involved with, called Beauty and the Beast. So it's funny, right? I like to play. I wanted to go out somewhere. The truth is, I've been pent up too long, and I was just yearning for somebody to do a play somewhere. And it was a great time. Christian school, 1,000 people. The children were wonderful. But there were a couple of scenes in the play, and y'all know the story of Beauty and the Beast. Actually, a redemption story, as the pastor there talked about. But there was a couple of situations where wolves got involved. And all the wolves want to do is tear into whoever they could get their hands on. It's like Satan. He wants to get to the sheep. And it was just another reminder that said, you know what? Maybe there's a reason that I'm up here this Sunday, based upon stuff God thinks I'm doing that I think is going to be fun. He said, okay, fun, yes, but there's always work to do in the Lord's house. So, you anoint my head with oil. This actually comes from the idea of the host in Bible times. When the guests would come, they would anoint their guest, to show them great favor. Oils, can be expensive. I watch those commercials, and the ladies, God bless you, they talking about all the different oils and stuff that they're selling. And one time I asked my daughter, I said, well, how much that stuff costs? And she gave me the price. I'm like, man. Vaseline and dollar store, that's how I handle mine, but I guess, I guess I don't know everything. Well, moving right along. My cup overflows. Well, the Old Testament, the King James is my cup runneth over. My cup overflows. I mean, it seems like it's wasteful, but it's an abundance. I can't hold it. And there are many times in the Bible where God does things and say, I have more than you can hold. Don't bring enough jars, you losing out. Where's your faith that I can give you more than you need? Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. There it is, goodness and mercy. Mercy, goodness, kindness, loving kindness, this is all the same root word. Now, the final part. That first of all, this goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. Right? Psalm 27, the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? There'll be goodness and mercy here, but then it says, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Well, if they're talking about forever, that's the eternity part. Because you're not going to dwell here forever. Right. So there's kind of a separation of how the goodness of God is forever. Such a beautiful psalm. All right. So I just want to tighten up a few things on this, and I'm going to dive into why we should be kind if we say we're representing the kingdom. Because there's a lesson to be applied here. First of all, like sheep, not only is sheep stupid, but they're also mostly defenseless. All right, another farm confession. You roll up on a sheep and get one by itself, fool just lay down, put his feet up. Sheep ain't gonna fight. I ain't struggling. That's why wolves like them. Lying in a bed, that's an hors d'oeuvre. He ain't gonna fight. I'm sorry, y'all. It's this commercial, Red Bull commercial. I had Red Bull once, never again, because I was watching some youth at an all-night stay-up. And I don't know, they said, well, this would be a good idea, Red Bull. Was not. But this antelope is drinking a Red Bull, and the other antelope is saying, why are you drinking that? You'll never outrun the lion. And the other antelope says, I don't have to outrun the lion. All I got to be is faster than you. Great commercial. I can be fast. You know, you going to be being eaten. I'm going to get away. I'm going to be okay. So the antelope's smarter than the sheep, though. The sheep fall down. In the 23rd Psalm, and I did not know this till I was studying. Pastor made me afraid that I better, be on top of my game and don't clown the whole time I'm up here. That, according to Henry Blackaby, this word follow in the 23rd Psalm is like an animal stalking another animal. God follows us like he's stalking us in order to give us these things. Wow, that blew my mind. He stalks us to try to keep us straight. We the ones running. But I like that. I like the idea that God stalks after us. Now, loving kindness. Research by two acclaimed psychologists, John and Judy Gottman. They did a survey, 16,000 subjects they studied from 37 cultures around the world. They asked the question, in the context of a successful marriage, what is the number one trait that both husbands and wives look for? Overwhelmingly, the answer was kindness, meaning tender-hearted compassion, tender-hearted compassion. The Greek word for kindness is Christos. If I didn't pronounce it right, Pastor, don't out me. Which translates into usefulness. This biblical kindness requires action for people to take opportunities to show kindness. Matthew Henry's commentary says, it is readiness to do good when we have the opportunity. That's the kind of loving kindness that the Bible's referring to here. And, I had my own shepherd experience in college. God can reach you wherever you are, through anybody who's around. You got to wait somebody to crack the sky and come down and voice, Jose, here I am, why thou there? You don't have to do that. I was so glad to get off the farm. I went to college, and with my young man there, see my young man here, help me. Listen to this. This part of the sermon's for you. Got any other young people here? Okay. Well, that's all right. I'd come to preach it just to you. So I got off the farm. I got all the way off. I wanted to indulge all the world's things and all the world's people. And they were really active, very busy at school and all kind of things going on, particularly after classes were over. So on one occasion, I happened to find myself in a smoke-filled room with a towel by the door with a bunch of people in it. And I'm going to talk some music a little bit, listening to a song Frankie Beverly and Mays, Happy Feelings. Happy in there. I was in the room more than once. One day, somebody opened the door, and there was a guy standing there. And he was talking to somebody who was in the room, and the guy was saying, yeah, all right, well, close the door. And this guy who I did not know, had never met, looked at me straight in my face and said, what are you doing in here? What are you doing in here? I don't know, I felt convicted. Well, you know, I accepted Christ as a teenager, but Christ must have needed something that maybe you shouldn't have been having in that room. I didn't carry him in there with me, or I thought that I wasn't thinking. I was a sheep. I was stupid, is what the problem was. And I was stupid more than once. But this guy looks at me and says, what are you doing in there? And I felt convicted. I didn't find out he was later. He became one of my dear friends, and he was a great person in my life. But clearly, God sent him. And I am grateful. That's how he takes care of the sheep. He takes care of the sheep when the sheep don't want to be cared for. All right. Proverbs 31:26. Oh, this is the Proverbs 31 woman. You know, we love landing on the Proverbs 31 woman, like, you know, after we're done with Proverbs 31, then we're done with women. How ridiculous. Anybody who thinks that the scripture doesn't understand the vital role in God's kingdom is not reading the Bible. They're just running their mouth. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. I mean, this one, I don't hear this one talked about so much. They got to buy in a field, and, you know, her husband's honored in the city gate, you know, all that stuff. But the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Okay, I'm going to do another music thing. I love music. When my wife, and beautiful singing today, along with her, you know, accompaniment partner there. He's been really a blessing. And it uplifts my spirit to see her praising the Lord and sing and worship. But this loving kindness, this Proverbs 31 woman, during the 70s when I was growing up, I encountered her in a song by a singer named Bill Withers called Grandma's Hands. And one of the lines of the song says, a few lines of the song, Grandma's hands used to hand me a piece of candy. Grandma's hands picked me up each time I fell. Grandma's hands, boy, they really came in handy. She said, Maddie, don't you whip that boy. He didn't drop no apple core. What you want to spank him for? Grandma's hands. But I don't have grandma anymore. When I get to heaven, I'm going to look for grandma's hands. The beautiful sentiment of that song is that grandma was the deliverer of kindness all around the town, even through her own suffering, even through her own ailments and ills. And of course, the singer knows that when he gets to heaven, hopefully he will, grandma's hands, he's going to look for grandma, because that loving kindness, that great spirit that she carried in her. By the way, for my rock fans, the guitar riffing that was played by Stephen Stills of Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young won 2 Grammy Awards. In the original version and the version that was produced by Dr. Dre, who just did our Super Bowl show for for Teddy Riley in a group called Blackstreet's. Interesting. The core feel of the songs transcended generations, but I think mostly because that sentiment of the kindness. Look at all the nanas we have in the audience. That's what you all are known for. When people at the end of the game, when they got nowhere else to go, when they need that sympathy and empathy. I had one, and I used to say, why are you always backing all these fools around here? I didn't know I was the fool. You say, you don't know you need me yet. But she knew that there was a need for her. Again, the work of the shepherd doesn't depend on the righteousness of the sheep. So important in the salvation story. All right. Isaiah 53:6. You right on it too. We all like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. This is Isaiah's foreshadowing of Christ dying on the cross for us. He's introducing the salvation plan to the world. You know, the sheep on the farm, they wandered. We had pigs on the farm. This is where I got a lot of my discipline from grandma's hands, okay? When the pigs would get out, I watched the pigs. First of all, I didn't like the farm, and I didn't like when the pigs got out. I didn't like when the horses got out. You had to go get them. Horses are smart. Horses got out when they wanted to see the lady horses on the other farm. You knew why they were getting out. And they loved getting out at 3 a.m. in the morning. And the other farmer would call over and say, your horses is over here. You haven't lived till you have chased horses who are trying to see lady horses by moonlight through 8-foot corn. I'm telling you. You got to do that. If you want to have some real fun. Joking. Pigs are smart. Pigs don't want to go nowhere. They want to get out, eat some different stuff, like going out to the restaurant. Get some clover and stuff. I noticed that the pigs would go back in. You know, get the sunset, they'd eat their fill. They just go back in on their own. They find a place in the fence, they root it up, they go back and lay back down in the mud. So I told my grandma, well, after she discovered me in the hayloft, reading a thick volume of Charles Dickens, not doing any work, and then the rod was imposed because you weren't out there doing the work. I'd say, Grandma, they go in on their own. We're chasing them. They pretend to be chased. And they treat us like we're silly. They hide under stuff we can't get to. And then as soon as we leave, they go do what they want to do. And when sunset comes, they go in on their own. Punishment still came, though I was right. I was clearly right. The pigs were smart. The sheep, not so much. Sheep get out, go somewhere, wander off. They don't know how to get back at all. No shot. That's why they need the shepherd to hook them and bring them back. Because they don't know how to get back. Like we don't know how to get back without a Savior. When you're ministering to people, you say, come on, really? What you think? You get to heaven, weigh your good deeds against your bad? You know what I tell people when they tell me that? I say, I tell you what, maybe you're right. I don't think so, but if I stop the clock right now, you think you good? See, that get them quiet. So we go to the books right now. You ready? I said, no, I prefer the other way. I prefer grace. I don't think my books are, they ain't tight. Chasing the sheep, being in the room, other stuff. It's a silent prayer. Y'all say this. I'm setting up a prayer, unnamed prayer. That's what y'all do for me. Trust that. Okay, I need plenty of those. All right. So that's one of the things, okay? Sheep can't get back. The final couple of points I want to make is we'll begin with Luke 15:4. What of you having 100 sheep, right? This great parable. Lost one doesn't leave the 99 in the open country and go after one that's lost. Now, I want to just pause a minute here. I think, David, he was a psalmist. He was a musician. And the Psalms, glorify my heart and give me great comfort, as does the Word of God. I love that song, Reckless Love of God, right? Corey Asbury. Part of the words, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Right? I couldn't earn it. I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. First time I heard that song, our now Eastern Shore beloved brother Kevin playing the first day I walked into Captivate with Jeff accompanying on the drums. First time I'd ever heard that song. Day one, praise and worship. See, God is he's not playing with us. He loves us. He's trying to show us what he has for us. And that song clung to my heart because I thought about how I was a sheep. Stupid. Needing love, needing direction. Here's the part that I find interesting. I don't know, Pastor, we have to get back on this one because this one troubled me late in the midnight hours because I saw it, even though I think I sent you the verse late. I think it was. He lays the sheep upon his shoulder rejoicing. Yeah, okay, parable of 12 sheep, you go after the 99. But look how he returns. First of all, spoiler alert, why is the sheep on the shepherd's shoulders? It flows out of the sheep's stupidity and disobedience. But the sheep has to get back. And the shepherd loves the sheep. Even though, because if he puts the sheep down, what's going to happen? More bad things. Going to wander again, going to go again. Sheep ain't no better. Shepherd throws the sheep over his shoulder to make sure the sheep gets back, to be corrected, to be reunited, to be loved. That's why. The sheep needs to be carried back, like when we're ministering to people. We need to understand, we got to throw the sheep over our shoulder sometime. And on Mike Rowe's dirty jobs, they were talking about how the wool gets all jacked up and sheep got all kind of diseases that make them have diarrhea and stuff. And that's carrying the dirty job, carrying the sheep back to the flock. But that's what the shepherd's going to do. By the way, the Bible talks the difference between a shepherd and a good shepherd. Because a good shepherd, it's out of John 10, you don't have the slide for that, but the good shepherd does what Psalm 23 talks about. The reason shepherds can't testify in court, we've been talking about that, Pastor, is because John 10, 11 through 13 talks about basically the hired hand shepherd. When one wolf comes, he scatters, leaves them. In fact, the law at that time was that you only had to fight off one wolf if you were just simply a hired hand shepherd, not a David type shepherd. Second wolf come, you can roll out. What's that all about? That's like the false teachers. That's like your false friends who are telling you do something else bad. Let's go out and rob these people. I spent a lifetime dealing with these people who got poor shepherding, but there was nobody to throw them over the shoulder and bring them back. We got to be that. We got to be patient because there's a lot of bad shepherds out there. That's why God talked about it. A whole industry of bad shepherds. Finally, there's this thing of unconditional love from the Good Shepherd. And I'll just tell a story. See, God worked on me this week. He burdened my heart for what to say. And God, He sent me all the places I need to go. Sent me to Keith and Sarah for a blessing. Sent me back to school where I saw an Orthodox Jewish colleague who I hadn't seen for 2 years because of COVID. I mean, I seen him on a little box in Zoom. I knew he existed. But I hadn't seen him in person for 2 years. And in the midst, he had lost his father, like I had lost mine a couple years ago. And I just wanted to have empathy to express to him my sorrow for that. Because when my father passed away, he made a donation, a financial donation, to one of the charities or one of the places where my father wanted any gifts for him to go that he had planned years before. What he wanted to be done for anybody who wanted to, but send me a whole lot of flowers. Send it here. And I was so moved and touched by his act of kindness at that time. And then he lost his father, and it had been a couple of months ago, and I had no chance other than to send a text or whatever to reach out. Couldn't even give, send a card. I couldn't do what I thought would have been appropriate for how kind he had been to me to reciprocate. And so I happened to be at school on a day when I'm usually not there. God knew I was going to be that day. And he happened to be there, and I ran into him in the hall, and I said to him, I want to say to you, in person also, how sorry I am that you lost your father. I said, I still haven't gotten over mine, the loss of my father. And I know it can be tough, and, the mourning can be tough. And I said, sometimes I remember those things that my father did, and it brings me comfort. He says, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. He said, I just remember when I was a little boy, maybe about 10 years old, and one of my uncles was having beef with one of his sons. And the uncle, my uncle, who I love, made an act to disinherit one of his sons because he didn't like some of his choices. And when he asked my father, his brother, about his decision, my father said, I don't understand that at all, brother. I would crawl through broken glass for my children. That's the gospel. I'm going to go back to that brother. And we're going to talk again. Because flesh and blood hath not revealed this. Because we are always on mission through our kindness. We make mistakes with our children because we don't have the perfect perspective of God. Maybe we try our best. Maybe we rethink our decisions and we say, oh, I should have handled that differently. I know I've done that in my own life with my children. But because our God is omniscient, omnipresent, and all-knowing, that is the shepherd that commands our life. And that we should be grateful to serve him because of all he has done for us. Thank you all for this opportunity just to share some of my thoughts and the words that have been laid on me in God's word, because you are my family. And we are going to do great things to the glory of God together. Thank you.